Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks and ready for our October 27th lesson in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. And it's lesson 300, which is the last day that we'll be on this chapter, What is the Real World? Only an instant does this world endure. Only an instant does this world endure. This is the thought that can be used to say that death and sorrow are the certain lot of all who come here. For their joys are gone before they are possessed or even grasped. Yet this is also the idea that lets no false perception keep us in its hold, nor represent more than a passing cloud upon a sky eternally serene. And it is this serenity we seek, unclouded, obvious, and sure today. And the prayer says, "We seek your holy world today, for we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while, but we have listened to your voice and learned exactly what to do to be restored to heaven and our true identity. And we give thanks today the world endures but for an instant. We would go beyond that tiny instant to eternity." Wow, that puts it in perspective, doesn't he? Reminds me of there in the book of James. Matter of fact, I probably should have found it already, but he says there in James, he said, "Our life is but a vapor that appears for a moment and then is gone." I picture a match lighting it, and a little puff of smoke comes up, and then it's gone. And that's what our life is. In the context of eternity, Jesus is calling it a tiny instant. Okay, let's go back and take a look at the Holy Encounter in chapter 8, the Journey Back, section 9, the Holy Encounter. Or I guess that's section 4, excuse me. "Glory be to God in the highest, and to you, because he has so willed it. Ask and it will be given you, because it has already been given. Ask for light and learn that you are light. If you want understanding and enlightenment, you will learn it, because you will to learn it is your decision to listen to the teacher who knows of light and therefore can teach it to you." Let's read that again. "If you want understanding and enlightenment," which that be us, "you will learn it, because your will to learn it is your decision to listen to the teacher who knows of light and can therefore teach it to you. There is no limit on your learning, because there is no limit on your minds. There is no limit on his will to teach, because he was created by unlimited will in order to teach. Knowing his function perfectly, he wills to fulfill it perfectly, because that is his joy and yours." Speaking of the Holy Spirit, that's the Holy Spirit's joy, to teach you joy, to teach you enlightenment. Paragraph 17. "To fulfill the will of God perfectly is the only joy and peace that can be fully known, because it is the only function that can be fully experienced. When this is accomplished, then, there is no other experience. Yet the wish for other experience will block its accomplishment, because God's will cannot be forced upon you, being an experience of total willingness." Wow. "The Holy Spirit knows how to teach this, but you do not." Okay, we'll need to resign us being our own teacher. We'll listen to the one voice, the voice for joy. "That is why you need him and why God gave him to you." Okay, that's why God gave us the Holy Spirit. "Only his teaching will release your will to God's, uniting it with his power and glory and establishing them as yours. You share them as God shares them, because this is the natural outcome of their being. The will of Father and the Son are one together by their extension. Their extension is the result of their oneness, holding their unity together by extending their joint will. This is the perfect creation by the perfectly created in union with perfect Creator. This is perfect creation by the perfectly created in union with perfect Creator. The Father must give fatherhood to His Son, because His own fatherhood must be extended outward. You who belong in God have the holy function of extending His fatherhood by placing no limits upon it. Let the Holy Spirit teach you how to do this, for you will know what it means of God Himself. That last sentence again. Let the Holy Spirit teach you how to do this, for you will know what it means of God Himself. So, He makes the perfectly created. And see, this is the perfect creation by the perfectly created in union with the perfect Creator. The Father must give fatherhood to His Son because His own fatherhood must be extended outward. God creates like Himself, so you have the same, you're like the Father in the sense that He made you in His image. You who belong in God have the only function of extending His fatherhood by placing no limits upon it. Don't place any limits upon it. Let the Holy Spirit teach you how to do this, for you will know what it means of God Himself. In paragraph 19, when you meet anyone, remember it is a holy encounter. Don't forget that one. When you meet anyone, remember it is a holy encounter. As you see him, you will see yourself. As you see him, you will see yourself. Wow. When you meet anyone, and remember, meeting and not just physically, in your mind. When you think about someone, you're meeting them. When you meet anyone, remember it is a holy encounter. As you see him, you will see yourself. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. As you think of him, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in him you will find yourself or lose sight of yourself. Whenever two sons of God meet, they are given another chance at salvation. Do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself. For I am always there with you in remembrance of you. Wow, what a beautiful statement. Do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself. For I am always there with you in remembrance of you. Wow, isn't that beautiful? The Christ is always there reminding us in remembrance of our true identity, that we can receive joy from each other and we can give joy to each other. It says, do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself. And how do you know if you got it? Because you're going to be happy. You won't feel like you're taxed and burdened. You'll feel joy. This is what the Holy Spirit's going to give us. And if you can't see it as joy, you can at least see it as peace. Do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself. For I am always there with you in remembrance of you. 20. The goal of the curriculum, regardless of the teacher you choose, is know thyself. There is nothing else to learn. Everyone is looking for himself and for the power and glory he thinks he has lost. Whenever you are with anyone, you have another opportunity to find them, to find the power and glory that you lost. Your power and glory are in him, in the other person, because they are yours. There's a oneness here. The ego tries to find them in yourself because it does not know where to look. The Holy Spirit teaches you that if you look only at yourself, you cannot find yourself, because that is not what you are. Wow, we're starting to see ourselves in each other, huh? Okay, well, let's stop there. We're going to put my pencil, and we'll mark that, and we'll be ready tomorrow for, oh boy, now I've lost and dropped my glasses down here in the leaves. Okay, we're ready for tomorrow. We're ready for paragraph 21. The Holy Spirit teaches you that if you look only at yourself, you cannot find yourself, because that is not what you are. Remember, we're one with everyone. Wow. Is it coming into focus a little better now for us all? I know it sure is for me. All right. Under only an instant does this world endure. The reading for that is, what is the real world? The real world is a symbol like the rest of what perception offers. Yet it stands for what is opposite to what you made. Your world is seen through eyes of fear and brings the witnesses of terror to your mind. The real world cannot be perceived except through eyes forgiveness blesses. So they see a world where terror is impossible and witnesses to fear cannot be found. The real world holds a counterpart for each unhappy thought reflected in your world, a sure correction for the sights of fear and sounds of battle which your world contains. The real world shows a world seen differently, through quiet eyes and with a mind at peace. Nothing but rest is there. There are no cries of pain and sorrow heard, for nothing here remains outside forgiveness. And the sights are gentle. Only happy sights and sounds can reach the mind that has forgiven itself. What need has such a mind for thoughts of death, attack, and murder? And what can it perceive surrounding it but safety, love, and joy? What is there it would choose to be condemned? And what is there that it would judge against? The world it sees arises from a mind at peace within itself. No danger lurks in anything it sees, for it is kind, and only kindness does it look upon. The real world is the symbol that the dream of sin and guilt is over, and God's Son no longer sleeps. His waking eyes perceive the sure reflection of his Father's love, the certain promise that he is redeemed. The real world signifies the end of time, for its perception makes time purposeless. The Holy Spirit has no need of time when it has served his purpose. Now he waits but that one instant more for God to take his final step, and time has disappeared, taking perception with it as it goes, and leaving but the truth to be itself. That instant is our goal, for it contains the memory of God. And as we look upon a world forgiven, it is he who calls to us and comes to take us home, reminding us of our identity, which our forgiveness has restored to us. And lesson 300, only an instant does this world endure. This is the thought that can be used to say that death and sorrow are the certain lot of all who come here. For their joys are gone before they are possessed or even grasped. Yet this is also the idea that lets no false perception keep us in its hold, nor represent more than a passing cloud upon a sky eternally serene. And it is this serenity we seek, unclouded, obvious, and sure today. Wow. We seek your holy world today, For we, your loving sons, have lost our way a while. But we have listened to your voice and learned exactly what to do to be restored to heaven and our true identity. And we give thanks today. The world endures but for an instant. We would go beyond that tiny instant to eternity. Well, you know what? And I wanted to share with you a plant that I getting ready for bringing inside for the winter. It's a Mexican tarragon. And Mexican tarragon, not to be confused with French tarragon, Mexican tarragon is Tagetes lucida, or lucida, and where French tarragon is Artemisia draconulus. And we talked about a French tarragon earlier in the year, but now we got a Mexican tarragon. Let me tell you about Mexican tarragon. They can both be used in the same dishes for spicing. They both have kind of similar flavors. The leaves and the flowers are all edible on this, and a lot of people take the flowers on these and sprinkle them on salads. Gives a nice little flavor. The little petals off the flowers. And I found this on naturalmedicinalherbs.com. It is used internally in the treatment of diarrhea, nausea, indigestion, colic, hiccups, malaria, feverish illnesses. Externally, it is used to treat scorpion bites and to remove ticks. Well, I never did use anything to remove ticks. I usually just pull them off here in the Ozarks. Get so many of them. But yeah, who knows? Maybe it has some good value in removing ticks that I didn't know about. Anyway, that is Mexican tarragon. Getting ready to bring it in for the winter. In this zone, in zone 8 and more, you can leave it outside, but it's a warmer tarragon than your French tarragon. It'd be treated as an annual if you left it out. It wouldn't probably make it through the winter. But if you bring it in, it's a perennial, and you can keep it in. It does pretty good in a south-facing window in the winter, is what I'm told. Okay, and I wanted to tell you just a little bit more about only an instant does this world endure. And while I am looking for that passage in the book of James, let's see if I can just find it real quick. I want to tell you just a moment about a man that I've been listening to from Argentina, Matthias Di Stefano, and I don't think you pronounce the O, but there's an O on the end of his name, and it's an F in the middle, Stefano. And I'm really enjoying listening to his words. Let's see if I'm gonna. And anyway, someone was asking him. He's got a lot. He's one of these guys that wants to help children, and he said, in order to help children, we got to help adults, which are more complicated. And he said that what do we want to do with our children is we want to help them to not forget to listen. He was one of those people that actually continued hearing his teachers as he was growing up, and he never forgot them. He was actually remembered them, and he remembered living in Atlantis. And anyway, he's come to help bring in a new era for humanity. And he went around to 40 different places around the world and set them up as in all, even in Antarctica, in all the different continents, and set it up kind of like maybe on what some people call ley lines, and was able to. He's basically just encouraging people to listen to themselves and work together as we really are. So anyway, I'm not going to find this in James. I'm pretty sure it's in chapter 1 or 2. I should have already looked it up, but since I don't want to take a lot of our time today, I'll see if I can find it, maybe read it to you tomorrow. For today, let's just keep in mind, only an instant does this world endure. And one of his followers, the Stefan, Matthias Di Stefan, I think is how Stephen pronounces his name. Someone said, well, what about all the old, the people that are that have got control of the world, and that they're not really seeing it from that integrated perspective where we're all connected in love. And he said, well, the thing to remember is that we all die. And so, he's like saying, the new energy is going to be of this connecting with. We're all going to love each other and see each other as part of God. This is the new wave on planet Earth, that we're going to empathetically be able to connect with one another in love, knowing that we're all one. And the ones that don't know that, well, they may not have to learn this time. They may just die and learn somewhere other place. Or at another time come back, and they won't be so messed up when they were born. All right? Okay, so anyway, I liked listening to him. And if you guys, he's Spanish, but he does have English as a second language. But anyway, only an instant does this world endure. I was just trying to encourage you about that. Life is so short. And when I say short, it's actually endless. That life is endless. But the body and the experience we have in this world, it's how does he say it? Only an instant does this world endure.